In the middle of 2015, Geometry Dash was in the height of update 1.9. There were lots of moving pieces, and everything in the game was super fresh and enjoyable. And on August 12th of that year, Riot would set the bar in difficulty higher than any other level or player that the game had ever seen. And thus, a new era in difficulty was born.
Oh my god!
Bloodbath would go completely unrivaled for over a year after its verification, and no one was able to beat the level for an astonishing 7 months. Many people tried, but in March of 2016, Quasar would prevail by being the first victor of the hardest demon the game had ever seen, taking him over 28,000 attempts to complete it.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! It's over! It's over! Get wrecked, Serve! Get freaking served! He beat it!
But after Bloodbath, what was next? Riot still had future projects, and it would take almost a year for his next big project to really get off the ground. But when it did, he was ready to defy yet another era of difficulty. People thought no one would ever complete Bloodbath, but now, the level had 19 victors. It was becoming clear that the evolution of higher refresh rates and players simply getting better was boosting the game into a whole other playing field. And so in August of 2016, Riot began work on a new level that would defy all of the odds once again. The goal of his next project? Make the hardest humanly possible level that the game will ever see. And so, work quickly began on Silent Akbar. Silent Akbar was very different than what eventually became of Tartarus, but the base level was more or less the same. Most of the changes were general decoration changes and scrapping gameplay that was made way too stupid to be playable, like what Cyclic made. While the original lineup did have capable people, the level didn't really meet up to the standards of what was wanted. The first notable video of the level came from a montage from $C all the way back in January of 2017. And later Localizer, making a hacked showcase of a copy given to him by Aurorus using cuts and speed hacks. But after Localizer's video, we wouldn't hear any news on the project for over 3 months. It all just sort of went silent. And going into 2018, there were still no signs of the level anywhere. But on January 26th, that would all change, when Riot uploaded a video of the level, and not only was it no longer called Silent Akbar, but nobody had ever expected the level to take the turn that it did. This is Tartarus. Almost everything in the entire level had been fully redone or repolished in some way, and the result was a very well-made 1.9 style level. Cyclic's entire part, along with lots of other small gameplay parts, were completely removed and replaced with gameplay and decoration that fit the narrative that Riot was going for in the first place. The first part received an entire redeco by Vermilion, and Aquatius almost completely remade the drone. Cyclic's entire part was scrapped and replaced by Comp, later splitting the part with Enlevel. The Swingcopter afterwards did stay in, but a lot of the innate mechanics of the part were changed to make for a better part. Salaxium would also join the project to decorate the Swingcopter as well as the final part. Not only was Azuler's part finally fully finished, but Heinz also received some small changes, which were the removal of some orbs and tiny gameplay changes that made for a much more enjoyable part. Comp and Salaxium would make the final 2 parts, and with that, Tartarus was complete. And as Riot said in the video, Tartarus is going to be an open verification. and anyone was free to try to verify it. And whoever verifies the level would get a shout out from none other than Riot himself. And at this point, it was only a matter of who was determined enough to go for this seemingly impossible level. And so, for the coming months, the level was out of reach for anybody. Upon its release onto the server for anyone to try, lots of players made miniature progression, but for simplicity's sake, we're going to put these aside. Going into 2018, there were only 2 people who seemed to be able to get good enough progress. Those 2 players being N-Level and Combined. N-Level was able to do a run of 58 to 100, but as everyone knows now, this run, along with a mountain of other achievements, ended up being hacked. And as for Combined, his progress was the most promising progress thus far, with him not only getting to the drop, but also doing a run of 57 to 97. These runs were achieved in January of 2018. Nawalk, better known as Joshua at the time, would also get a run of 64 to 100 in January as well. But after this, everything just kind of stopped. And for everyone else except for Combined, Tartarus was still untouched by anyone. And going into 2019, there was still no one trying to verify. People were wondering if anyone was going to go for it anymore. And on January 3rd, somebody would finally make notable progress. Coming from Canada, his name is Molsie. Molsie was one of the first players to ever get a notable run on Tartarus, with his first progress video being 32%. Molsie was already close to passing the world record on the level, being 39% by GD Lapis set not too long before. Molsie would follow this up by getting a run of 52 to 100 just 3 days after getting 32%, getting a new world record run on the level as well. He already almost had the level in 2 runs with 25,000 attempts already spent on the level. But this was only the beginning. And on January 9th, Molsie would break the 0% world record as well, by only 1%. But that doesn't mean it wasn't impressive. There was still 8% of the level stopping him from having it in 2 runs. Progress would resume on January 16th, with Molsie's next 2 runs stretching both of the world records, getting 41 to 100 and getting 45% from 0. Molsie would later lose a ton of runs to 45% because of the fixed hitbox straight fly. It was just so difficult, but Molsie pushed on.
Okay, that's a good run.
At this point, he would begin to beat his own world records on the level over and over again. We would also see progress from Metaman Z, with him getting a run of 35 to 58 on February 22nd. He would continue to get small runs for about 2 months, with his best run ending up being 53%, which was obtained on May 30th. But we're not in May, we're in February, and Molsie was still comfortably ahead of everyone else, so Molsie didn't really have to worry about it. And fast forward a month later, Molsie would stretch the 0% world record even further, finally getting an attempt past 50, getting 61% on February 23rd.
Holy shit.
He would later get a run back to 60, but died at 64% 11 days after getting 61. And only 5 days after that, Molsie would stretch the world record even further. He was getting more and more consistent every single day, and it was only a matter of time before he would fall through.
Dude, I knew it! I knew it! Dude, oh.
But exactly 3 weeks after getting 73, Molsie would stretch the 0% record once again. And this time, the record would get raised by 18%.
No! No! No!
Devastating. This would eventually lead to Molsie not making a single progression video for over 4 months. And so, progress once again became dormant. And even after 4 months, no one was even able to come close to Molsie. Returning to the level in July, Molsie was able to break yet another world record on the level, this time getting 35 to 100 on July 6th, as well as getting 21 to 100, breaking the start position record twice.
Holy! No! Oh my, I just did that. Oh boys, we're going back. We're going back big. That is insane.
And with his consistency finally coming back to him, Molsie was ready to play from zero again. But for the next 2 weeks, Molsie was completely silent. But on July 26th, 2019, Molsie would shock the entire community.
No! No! No!
Molsie said it wasn't going to happen, but getting a fail like this on a level this difficult was ultimately inevitable. It hurt, but Molsie was way too far in to give up now. All he had left was 3%. Could he do it? At this point, Molsie was so far ahead of everyone else that he could afford taking weeks or even months away from completing the level. His progress would soon inspire other top players to give the level a go, and soon after his 97% fail, players all around the community were doing just that. By Molsie proving the potential the best players had to beat Tartarus, it was just what people needed to start getting determined enough to try to verify it. And soon enough, we would see more progress. But the progress wasn't from Molsie. With his first progress video being over half the level, the first ever player to finally step up to Molsie's level of play had shown up. And he was showing no signs of slowing down. His name is Dolphy. Dolphy was a Russian player whose career started all the way back in October of 2016, and after picking up Tartarus in July, Dolphy made extremely fast progress, with his first video being 55%.
Офигеть! 55.
But after his first progress video, Dolphy surprisingly dropped the level to go play other extremes. The only player who could match Molsie had just dropped out. And so, Molsie was uncontested once again. Metaman Z was also playing the level in the background, but he didn't even come close to 97%. And after getting 53, Metaman's progress would completely freeze, and short after, everyone's progress. And for the next 5 months, no one would make any progress. The progression would go from people getting new runs almost every week to nobody making a single notable progression video in almost half a year. And just like that, Tartarus went from being on the grasp of possibility to once again reclaiming its status of being untouchable. And with Molsie pretty much vanishing, all hope for somebody to verify it was slowly fading away. Could this be the end? Well, that's what everybody thought. On December 3rd, the silence would finally be broken. And not only was it notable progress, but the progress was coming from a player who had previously been able to challenge Molsie's level of play. And with almost all eyes off Molsie, the player would become the center of the race's attention. And with nothing to slow him down, he was ready to absolutely grind. Tartarus was finally in the grasp of verification again, and Dolphy's quick work made Tartarus not look invincible ever since Molsie got 97% all the way back in July of 2019. But after getting 23 to 100, Dolphy too would slow down. And with all eyes on Dolphy, everyone was anxiously waiting on the day that Tartarus would finally have a victory. He went from making progress every 2 days to not uploading anything in over 5. 5 days turned into 2 weeks, and eventually, people were once again unsure if he could pull it off. All we could do is wait. He was over 60,000 attempts in at this point, and he had beaten Molsie's unbelievable record by only 1%, also dying at the farthest possible percent. 1% is all it took. And for the next 2 months, everything was kind of at a stalemate. There were only 2 players in the entire community who were able to keep up with the level, and it was only a matter of time before one of them would grind it out and eventually verify it. But out of nowhere, one of them had returned to playing the level and had been silently playing the level in the background. And on February 9th, 2020, Molsie would come back and achieve the impossible.
Oh my god!
It was done. A project that started as a plan to dethrone Ice Carbon Diablo X had just been legitimately completed by a modern player 4 years later. No one could believe it, and shortly after, the level would be rated on Molsie's account. And that concludes the race to verify Tartarus. But wait a second. What about Dolphy? Dolphy had verified the level a whole 3 days before Molsie did, so why was the one verified afterwards the one to get rated? Well, it was because of Dolphy's growing suspicion by Riot and N-Level. And on February 10th, N-Level released Exposing Dolphy. The main claims on the video were how Dolphy's clicks seemed to sound sped up upon other things. But the biggest of all was that during a playthrough of Tartarus, Dolphy was still able to play even after a window popped. And after seeing that happen, the team was to believe that Dolphy was botting his progress. And so, Dolphy's contribution to the race was eliminated, without any chance of it ever coming back. For 1 month. After a thorough investigation, and against all odds, Dolphy would ultimately prove his legitimacy. After lots of counter-exposings to the team's claims and private live streams being done with the demon list, the list team had determined that Dolphy was undeniably legit. Because of this, on February 18th, RobTop had no other choice. And that is the race to beat Tartarus. The race might not be as interesting as the likes of Sonic Wave or Bloodbath, but verifying Tartarus is arguably more impressive than beating both Sonic Wave and Bloodbath in their respective time periods. Many tried, and many players gave up. But to the players who pushed on, their level of dedication is on a scale revolutionary to modern players. It's a shame that Molsie didn't end up being the first victor, but unfortunately, that's just how life is sometimes. Tartarus would go unrivaled for almost 2 years with nothing able to take it down. It wasn't until Slaughterhouse, Firework, and later Truefet took it down almost all at the same time. And as always, thanks for watching.